Hello everyone, and greetings here from Pintpot. Welcome to my latest episode of Climbing the Curve, the series intended to help beginner players come up the steep learning curve in Planetside 2 that little bit faster. Today I'm going to take a look at the Lightning Tank. The Lightning Tank, unlike its bigger brother the main battle tank, is a one-man vehicle. It's cheaper to spawn with the main battle tank, only costing 350 vehicle resources rather than 450. It has much faster acceleration as a general rule than the main battle tank. It also has thinner armour than the main battle tank, and as a general rule is much squishier in the battle place, and I'll go into the reasons why a little later. Now first things first, before you pull your first Lightning, let's have a quick look at what you can invest a few certs into to improve them quite considerably. If you look at your Lightning on the vehicle menu, you'll see that there's a utility tab at the bottom with two potential upgrades. For 50 certs you can upgrade to the first level of IR smoke. This will break lock-ons on your vehicle, which are a very common threat on the battlefield. They'll also put up a pool of smoke around your vehicle, which helps obstruct line of sight. Then go to your defense slot and choose Nanite Auto Repair. The first level to unlock only costs 30 certs. At the first rank, this ability allows your tank to start healing itself 12 seconds after it receives damage, automatically. Next, select your gun and choose the Optic tab. Unlock for times 1.25 sights. This only costs 1 cert. Do the same for the Ammo tab, again only costing 1 cert. Now for the very modest investment of only 82 certs, you will have significantly increased the utility of your vehicle, and I'll explain why now. Particularly when you're fighting against infantry in a tank, you'll receive a lot of relatively low level damage just from the odd rocket hitting you. This will slowly whittle away at your health. Now you can just jump out and heal yourself. However, this is rather dangerous in practice. Once you're outside your vehicle, you're incredibly vulnerable. Now a myriad of things can kill you the moment you step outside of your vehicle to repair it. The splash damage from shells being aimed at your tank can kill you. Passing aircraft have a nasty habit of blowing you up. And infiltrators seem to take particular delight in assassinating you the moment you get out. Therefore you want heals to be short and sweet and back into the vehicle as quickly as possible. As you're taking your life in your hands, every time you pop out the vehicle to give it a repair, Nano Auto Repair cuts down on all the unnecessary topping up. This is not to say that all the other upgrades aren't useful, but as a starter pack for a new player, I would say that these two upgrades are the absolute best. So you have your basic upgrades, but what sort of role would you be looking to fulfill with your Lightning? Well, the answer is that kind of depends which weapon you put on your tank. It is possible to unlock other weapons for your tank, however for the starter weapon, the Viper, the role is essentially an infantry muncher. You can one-shot infantry with a direct hit, provided that they're not using flak armour. Also the fact that you have a 6-shot magazine makes it very spammable against clumps of enemy infantry. Now the radius of its splash damage is only 4 meters, relative to a high explosive round, which is 8 meters. Therefore what it really excels at is destroying infantry who are out in the open or in partial cover. If they're in heavy cover, such as a building, the blast radius isn't quite big enough to catch them, so you're better off with a high explosive tank round. But for infantry trying to push out of buildings, or who are out in the open, it is pretty much the best farming weapon in the game. Particularly when enemy infantry clump up, you can annihilate them within a matter of seconds. Also, the fact that it has a 6-round magazine makes it an incredibly difficult tank for infantry to rush. Often you'll find if you get too close to enemy infantry, one of them will have a go at trying to C4 you by rushing at you. For a normal tank round, if you miss with your first shot, the chances are they're going to get close enough to C4 you. However, the Viper, you just keep spamming away until such time as they die. In my experience of trying to destroy Viper Lightning tanks on my infantry, this makes it the most lethal tank to fight against in close quarters. So, it's clearly incredibly good at fighting infantry, but how does it fare against armour? The answer is, on paper it looks pretty reasonable against armour. On the screen I have a number of shots it takes to kill a tank from various angles, and to make it easier, the time to kill at the bottom. Now as you can see, the time to kill for a Viper compares very well against the alternatives, only really being outstripped by armour piercing. However, in practice it doesn't work nearly as well as that. The problem being this: the Viper has an incredibly long reload time at 4.5 seconds. Therefore, to achieve these quicker time to kills on your Viper tank, you need to be hitting with all 6 shots. Now against stationary targets, this is perfectly possible. However, against armoured opponents, if they're any good, they'll maintain their mobility. This means that you have to either slow down your rate of fire considerably to land all 6 shots, or risk missing a decent number of them. This is particularly a problem at longer ranges, as the velocity of the Viper is not incredibly fast. Therefore you'll find that on your Viper, the time to kill enemy tanks is much longer than the theoretical ideal. In contrast, enemies using heat or armour piercing rounds only have to line themselves up for the briefest moment to be able to get a good shot in on you. Therefore, although it looks like on paper you can go toe to toe with other lightning tanks, in practice it doesn't work nearly as well as that. And if you have a misfortune of running into a main battle tank, as I do here against a Mag Rider, you're in real trouble. They have heavier armour than you do, and if they have a gunner with an anti-tank weapon, effectively put out more than twice the DPS. In other words, you're toast. So when it comes to fighting enemy armour, you can dish out a decent amount of damage with this gun, but you're much better off in a support role for other main battle tanks, rather than trying to take the lead yourself. Also, lightning tanks' armour is softer than main battle tanks. Now again, on paper it doesn't look like a huge difference, but in practice it makes the world of difference, and here's the reason why. Most times in combat when you start receiving damage, it effectively gets front loaded. What I mean by this is the fact that you'll receive a decent proportion of the damage before you're aware you were even under a threat. You have to work on the assumption that in an open battlefield at least 2 people are going to be able to shoot you if you're out in the open. Then the chances are before you get to cover they'll be able to shoot you again. Now if you're in a lightning tank and have received 4 shots of the enemy, chances are you're pretty heavily damaged. However, in a main battle tank you should still have about 40% of your health left. This means in a main battle tank you should have enough juice to get yourself to safety, whereas in a lightning tank you'll die before you can manage it. The difference in survivability that comes from just being able to take 1 or 2 more shots is also increased by the effect of being on fire in your tank. Once you've been set on fire, your speed decreases significantly and it's that much harder to get into cover. So, in conclusion, Lightning Tank is brilliant as a support vehicle. In open battlefields it can absolutely destroy infantry who are in low cover. It's also incredibly difficult for enemy infantry to close the gap and see for you, as your weapon is so spammable. However, when facing enemy armour, you need to remember you're playing a support role rather than at the front of the battle. Assist with the DPS by all means, but if you find yourself a main target, the chances are you're going to come off second best by a long way against a decent opponent. Also, by not being at the vanguard of your assault, you're less likely to be focused down by enemy anti-vehicle weapons. Again, if you find yourself at the vanguard of the attack, the chances are you could be focused down pretty quickly. Also, being a single man vehicle, you're not reliant on knowing other people in the game to get the most use out of it. So, what I recommend is invest those 82 certs, take it for a spin into a large infantry v infantry battle and see how you fare. Now for my next episode I'm going to look at upgrading the medic class. Then in a later episode take a more in-depth look at lightning tanks, the various upgrades and the various weapons. If you found this video at all useful, please feel free to like, dislike, comment or subscribe as appropriate. In the meantime, happy hunting and Pintpot out. Have a good one.